For a handful of graduate students in community and regional planning in the College of Design,
it's interesting.
This semester has been all hands on deck.
This is the applied class for our graduate students, where they get a chance to take everything that they've learned in their other classes and put it to work on the ground.
On the ground in the city of Des Moines.
It's part of a 3-year partnership that we have with the city of Des Moines.
Hired to help revitalize some much needed parts of the city, like the Woodland Heights neighborhood.
And Woodland Heights is located west of downtown Des Moines.
In the corridor of MLK to 31st Street and Ingersoll to I-235.
It's great, and it's critical planning. It's about us figuring out how to live together in a better way, making places that are more successful and communities that work better for the people who live in them.
Which started at the beginning of the semester.
The first week of school, we started doing research about the neighborhood. So we read up about the neighborhood, we read up on the character plan of Des Moines, and also what other neighborhoods were doing.
In the weeks that followed, the students held more meetings and workshops with community members.
We took input from the residents. We took that input and we created a plan for them to implement within the next 5 to 10 years.
They found that things like housing, infrastructure, trees, and community identity and enhancement were some of the top priorities.
They want to have their neighborhood be known outside of just their neighborhood.
This is an amazing neighborhood. It's a quirky neighborhood. It is. It's got its characters like any community does.
Once they analyzed all the feedback and data, the students presented ways in which they believe the communities can implement these changes.
This isn't a fictional, maybe what would you do? They've got to actually deal with reality and with the limitations and the trade-offs that are part of the real world.
This information will eventually be presented to Des Moines city leaders who will make the final decisions.
I'm very excited that these students for these 3 years have a real product, a real client, and they get to say, I've created this, forevermore for the next 10 years at least.
A real-life, hands-on project that engages the students.
And we're kind of training our students to go out there and be able to look at systems and look at the complexities of these neighborhoods and these communities, these cities, these regions that we live in, and think about how do you move them towards a better future.
By getting involved and interacting with their local communities.
So our job here was to help them come together and create a common vision for how this neighborhood would look. You can take the challenges and the ideas that any number of disciplines kind of take on, but then we go one step further. It's not enough to talk about it or think about it.
Which required a great deal of labor.
A lot of work, many hours. Many hours of the background research, but also after we got the information from the neighborhood, we had to analyze all that survey data, we had to analyze all the data from the workshop, and we had to narrow things down because you can't do everything. So we had to really try to focus, and I think we have to complete 10 goals total, and then several strategies to implement those goals.
A major project that's helped hone in on some important skills needed for their future.
I think that's a really good tool that I've learned is actually how to communicate with people and try to understand what they're saying and make sure that they understand that I am really trying my hardest to get what they want.
All while changing the world.
We have Iowans who are saying, wow, look, I get to change my community, as well as students taking this idea of a neighborhood in Iowa and taking it to Egypt and taking it to Nigeria and taking it to China and saying, hey, a neighborhood works here.
One community at a time.
I hope that they really get that passion for creating change. For me, planning is about making the world a better place. We don't always do it well, we don't always do it right, but we're trying.